And welcome back to my channel, unless you're new here, and then just welcome. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I spotlight my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And we conclude my Space Horror Festival. These are 8 films that I chose out of my collection that I really enjoy of a space horror nature. And we are going to finish with Event Horizon. Now, this is one of the rare mistakes that I made. I had it on DVD and I wanted to upgrade it, and so I went to upgrade it, and of course I grabbed the 4K Blu-ray combo. And I did not research. Now, I may be a collector with over 2,800 Blu-rays now, but I'm not rich. And so I always do research, especially when it comes to 4K, because you have to 4K box sets, because this is America, and these companies are American mostly. And they are greed and will screw you at any opportunity. But that's just America. So 2 of the companies that do it the most are Paramount and Lionsgate. Now, that doesn't mean that they always do it. Paramount presents like this. Yeah, these are 2 good examples right here. For instance, Paramount Presents. This is the Paramount Presents for Vanilla Sky that I just got in. It is absolutely fantastic. The Paramount Presents line, which is their remastered, restored 4K scanned Blu-rays, are absolutely amazing. I've also got Fatal Attraction and a couple of others of their boutique line. And this is like the new 4K Blu-ray for Young Guns. This is Lionsgate. And the Blu-ray that is included in this is from the new 4K transfer scan, restored, cleaned up, remastered. So this isn't a stock dump, which is what we call things like this. So they took the time to, and did they? You see, whenever they do a stock dump on a 4K box set, I always wonder about the quality of the 4K then. Because if you're going to take the time to do a 4K remastered scan, restoration on a film, why wouldn't you just transfer it to the Blu-ray as well? Why wouldn't you just run off a set? But it didn't. So I always check, because I know that they can do that. Now, stock dumps are when they release something like this, but the Blu-ray that is included in this 4K for Event Horizon, the Blu-ray that's included in this is just a stock dump. It's leftover Blu-rays from 2008. What year is this? 2024? This is 2024. And they stuck in the same Blu-ray from 2008. So it makes me wonder, is the 4K just an upscale of that transfer? Did they do a new 4K scan? I don't know. But you're always supposed to check. Blu-ray.com is the best place to check. But even they sometimes, don't have the information, so you need to go to the forum for that release. And somebody will tell you in there. So I didn't check. And that was upsetting because I wanted to upgrade it, and I knew there was this, but I got this. Then I checked after I had screwed up and found out, because I'm like, oh no, I didn't check before I bought it because I bought it with a bunch of other stuff from that place. And I'm like, I didn't check. And then I went and checked, and I'm like, oh, you son of a bitch. I knew I should have checked. And so I instead had to go and rebuy it. This is the Scream Factory Collector's Edition. This is a brand new 4K scan, restored, remastered in the proper, and it's absolutely gorgeous. This was released in 2021. So if you are like me, I know people don't like to think so. Everybody thinks it's 4K, but it's actually not. Most collectors still love Blu-ray, and there's a lot of times when the Blu-ray is still prettier than the 4K, especially with older films. So I don't know. Blu-ray, I love Blu-ray, and 4K is fine if they do it to the Blu-ray as well. So this is an absolutely beautiful scan. This is from Scream Factory. This is a remaster. So if you're like me and you want, if you want the 4K, go for it. But if you're okay with the Blu-ray and you want an actual remastered Blu-ray, then you're going to have to go and find the Scream Factory Event Horizon, which you can find, because it is that very thing. And like I said, I just watched this a couple hours ago. It was so nice to see it again. This is absolutely stunning. It's absolutely stunning. And it's in the correct format, and the picture is just beautiful. They did a really good job on this transfer. So yes, I did make a mistake. I don't make that mistake very often, because I really do, research. And if I had known that, I wouldn't have gotten this at all. I would have just got this. But there you go. So Event Horizon was released in 1997. It was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. And as a Resident Evil fanboy from hell, I bow before you, oh my precious Lord. You are a movie god, because I love Resident Evil. I love every one of them. I don't care what anybody says about any of the 6 installments of Resident Evil. I am absolutely a super fanboy of every single one of them. And what can I do except thank him? At least, well, never mind. So, it was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson of Resident Evil fame. It was written by Philip Eisner, and it stars Laurence Fishburne and Sam Neill and Kathleen Quinlan and several other people as well. So, Event Horizon takes place, like we talked about in that one that was set in 2022. This is set in 2040. It's not an underestimation of, human ability. It's an underestimation of human whatever, because we should be doing all of these things by now. But in 2040, the research vessel Event Horizon launched to explore the solar system's outer boundaries, only to disappear right before Neptune. Flash forward 7 years to 2047, and we are introduced to Weir. I always call it Veer, but Weir. He wakes from a nightmare. This is the character played by Sam Neill. He wakes from a nightmare about Claire, who the hell Claire is, obviously his girlfriend or wife or whatever. And he is on the daylight station boarding a ship, the USAC vessel Lewis and Clark, which is a rescue vessel captained by Captain Miller, who is Laurence Fishburne's character. They're greeting him. They greet him, and as they are getting prepared to go into the gravity tank sleep stasis for the trip. 56 days later, they arrive at Neptune. Vera wakes up to a nightmare again about Claire. He's obviously got some issues with Claire. The crew wakes. They all get introduced to him, where he now informs them of what this secret mission has been all about. That was that the public was told that the Event Horizon exploded and all of that kind of stuff. He advises them that it did not. That the Event Horizon was a special ship created to do the first test for a space-folding warp time, gravity drive to fold space as a form of warp speed. They vanished on their first test, and where they've been for 7 years, nobody knows. So he lets them hear the message. They do manage to find the ship in high altitude of Neptune. We see Justin, Miller, and Peters. They board it. The only thing really out of place that they find is some blood on the bridge until she finds what she called a corpsicle, a body. We then see Justin, who is looking in the engine room. He gets sucked into the gravity drive. It's sort of like this. It looks like the thing when you open a Stargate. In the movie Stargate, when you open that, it's got that liquidy thing. That's what it looks like. And I also, when I was watching it earlier, I also forgot how steampunk this movie is. That core thing, I would love to have a little miniature version of over there. It's so steampunk. Everything about the Event Horizon, the spaceship, was so steampunky. You know what I mean? Especially the core room. So I've never really noticed that. And then when I was watching it, I was like, that is so steampunk. It's like that movie Mortal Engines or something. It was really steampunky, and I liked that. I just didn't remember how steampunk the set design of this movie was. But so he gets sucked into that little gateway. It does a lot of damage to both ships, causing a big gravity wave, shock explosion kind of thing. Damages both ships. Cooper comes and manages to pull Justin back out, and he's all comatose and stuff over it, in some kind of fugue state. All the ship from the Lewis and the crew have to abandon the Lewis and Clark and come back to Event Horizon. So they're on that ship, but they've only got 20 hours of air. Weir begins to get a lot of blame. You're the one who caused this, doing this secret crap, this trying to break, the laws of physics. What do you think you unleashed, by messing with stuff like that? Which is a fair point. So he tells them that the core is actually based around a artificial black hole. You're getting into that Dyson sphere kind of territory, right? But they create an artificial black hole. That's where the power comes from. So it's definitely messing with some very touchy technology, We also notice that everybody starts having these weird hallucinations. They do end up watching the last ship's log that was left, but it still needs to be cleaned up. We see Justin having a seizure, and he does finally say something, and that is that they're coming. And when DJ asks him what's coming, he's like, the dark, and I'm not going to go back. I don't want to go back. The dark is coming. So Weir also begins to hallucinate. Miller and the rest of the crew, they all begin to have these little hallucinations. They discuss it, And that's where the big fight happens, where Smith, is that who it is? Like, really tries to beat up Veer because of, messing with the laws of physics and stuff. Now, Stark, she comes up with a pretty interesting theory, and that is that wherever this ship went in this gateway, she believes that the ship itself is having like an allergic reaction to their presence. That the hallucinations, although they are delusions and hallucinations, are actually being manifested in a way that it's like some power is controlling it. And so they are hallucinations and delusions, but at the same time, they're kind of real. And she believes that it's the ship is alive in some way, and that it is reacting to their presence by doing this, wanting them dead, wanting them gone out of its body. So Justin vanishes, bunch of big booms. He gets into the airlock and he's going to top himself, and he tells them that the dark from the other place shows you things, and he won't go back, even if he has to, like, top himself out the airlock. You know what I'm saying? So they manage to calm him down enough for a type of rescue to get in place. And it's too late, though, when he kind of, like, comes to his senses. It's too late. And he does get decompressed a little bit. And because they have to open the outer door. You can't open the inner door without opening the outer door. It won't allow you. So he does have to go through a few seconds of decompression. And they talk him into what to do. And he's not pretty when it gets through. But he does live through it and is put into stasis. So Vera is asked once again about what the crap, he was talking about, the dark and the other place and things like that. And Miller also begins to believe that the ship is alive now as well. DJ then informs them that he mistranslated the voice that he heard on that message, because he thought that it was Latin for save me, but actually it turns out that it's Latin for save yourself. And there's a whole different message there, you know what I mean? There's a big difference between save me and save yourself. So, all of it's coming together and it's not looking good in any event. So Peters manages to cleanse the log, I swear, sometimes coming up with, I want to use British slang, and I know y'all won't get it. So I end up like having to think, what's the British term for that? I mean, what's the American term for that? But she ends up like cleaning the log up, so they can finally see what it is, and you get to see this like really fucked up scene that was taking place on the bridge. And thank gosh for frame step, because I can use my Blu-ray player. I can use my remote on my Blu-ray player, and you can pause it, and then you can mash a button that will then frame step it one time at a time. You can sit by and watch it, not just in slow motion, but in frame stepping, you can watch it. And I will do that on scenes like that, because I'm like, what are y'all trying to hide? These filmmakers, they try to hide by doing these like really split-second edit scenes. And I'm like, well, that's okay, motherfucker. They make pause for a reason. So I like frame stepped all the way through that scene, and it was gross. I mean, that was like, what the hell is going on in this other dimension? You know what I mean? The stuff that crew did to each other was just very disturbing. And so I kind of love the technology of being able to frame step and see what they're trying to flash in front of your eyes. But at the same time, you can end up going, did I really want to see that? But that's the payoff, especially for horror fans. We want to see it, even if it makes us sick. So, where was that? Oh yeah, she cleans up the log. We get to see that scene. Miller now, he after seeing that scene, after seeing that log, the cannibalism and the stuff that they were doing was just I don't know. So he wants to abort, but now Veer has sort of kind of completely changed, right? He has started acting like he has accepted all of this and is okay with all of this. Like, well, I didn't expect my baby to become a monster because he created this ship and technology. So it's like I didn't expect my baby to become a monster, but now my baby has grown up to be a monster. But I still love me baby, and it's okay that my baby's a monster. You see what I'm saying? In my opinion, he's way too accepting of the outcome. So, you know, when they start to all try to leave, you know, he's like, ha ha ha, the ship's not going to let you leave. Like, he's like really given in to it. You know what I mean? And they're like, no, we want to go home. And he's like, I am home, right? Like I said, he's really given into it. It's like the baby became a monster, and he is okay with the monster. And, you know, it's also, that's a way of giving up. You know what I mean? So they all try to get out, but then there's the death of Peters, where she falls for one of those delusions that the ship is feeding her and ends up falling her to her death. And I'm telling you, it's not often that you get to see a fall death like that, because they show her when she hits the floor, and it's not pretty at all. We see Veer in the core now. He is completely given into these delusions and all. He pulls his own eyes out while he's in there, which was not attractive in any way, shape, or form. He ends up putting one of the things, because you have to remember the event horizon is like a big ship and a big ship, or a smaller ship, connected by this, it looks like a Klingon bird of prey. You know, you got the tail end, and then you've got the front, and then you've got the long thing. So there are explosives all across that, because in case of emergency, you can blow the center, and you've got two ships. One can take off as a lifeboat, and the core is left on its own. So he had taken one of those bombs, and he had put it on the Lewis and Clark, and that's where, you know, poor Smith gets blown up. That was like a scene. But it also made you laugh right after that, because Cooper was outside on the hull, and like, so that part of the hull is like floating away, blowed away, and he's just like bitching. I really identified with him on that, because if I was in that situation, that's what I'd have done. I'd just be bitching, you know. I'd be like, what the fuck am I doing? Yes, I mean, no, how does this shit keep happening to me? So that's what he was doing, but he comes up with this thing. It's like, you know, I can use my suit to get back to the event horizon. So I thought he was dead, but he's actually, you know, like zooming back like Rocket Man to the event horizon. But they, of course, all think that they're both dead from that explosion. So Miller is like really upset now, and he's after him. Now DJ got attacked, and this was gross. When DJ gets attacked in the medbay, and then who was it, Miller, that comes into the medbay and finds him? That was a really gross scene. I mean, he threw up on that table and cut open with the scalpel while he was alive. And then when Miller came in and found him, it was so Silence of the Lambs, right? Because I was like, oh my God. Because, he strung him up and eviscerated him. And it was just like, it was like what Hannibal Lecter did to that cop, to the dibble in the top up there when he strung him up, with it was cut open. It was all that. So that really reminded me of Silence of the Lambs, that scene when he came in and found him hanging and displayed like he was. That was just something else. It was also something else I had to pause on for a minute to really get a good look and then regret doing that. So, Miller then arms himself okay, this dude, it's time to take him out. So he arms himself. He ends up finding Stack, KO'd. You got only those two left because they don't know about Cooper. So they confront Veer and, with his eyes torn out and everything. And he says that it is a gateway, but not to another solar system. It's a gateway to another dimension. And it kind of it looked like out of something out of Hellraiser is what it looked like. But, he's got it set to take them back, and he's like, y'all are going to come and we're going to go back. So it's like 10 minutes and we're going to be back in that dimension. We're going to go back through. And Miller starts, fighting with him. And about that time, another little funny moment, because there's not a lot of funny moments in this movie, it's like a little comedy break, but Cooper ends up, he actually does make it back to the event horizon, and he lands on the thing right there at the bridge. and he's like, hey, knocking, let me in. And Veer shoots that grapple thing, and it hits the window, and you're like, oh man, did Cooper really make it all the way back like Rocket Man only to get killed like that? I mean, it's just not fair, So the whole thing decompresses, and Veer gets sucked out into the thing, and Miller does manage to get Stack, and get her out of the room and seal it off. So they had set it all to blow that middle part of the ship. And they end up managing to do that. And they hear a knocking, and it turns out that Cooper had blown away, but he had just went down to the other access point. So the other airlock. So they let him in. And those three are left, but Miller ends up having to go back and have a big, huge fight with Veer in the control, which is heavy hallucinations. I mean, this ship is really trying to get them. And that was a big boss fight, an excellent boss fight. And he manages to get a hold of the detonator, and even though it kills him to do it, he does manage to free them by blowing up that corridor, which left. So you've got Justin still in stasis in the gravity tanks, and you've got Stax and Cooper was left. And right about the time they blew that up, then of course the thing activates, and poor Miller was taken back to wherever that place is. So I really feel sorry for him, but he did that to save his crewmates. And 72 days later, we see that a rescue ship has found them, has found the lifeboat part of the ship, and it goes in there and they get them out, and you see Cooper is alive and well, and Stax is alive and well, and Justin, he's, pretty damaged from that decompression, but he'll live. So, yeah, that's how the movie ends, and it is a masterpiece. Event Horizon is a total masterpiece. And that's the reason why I found it so disappointing when Paramount would treat it that way and just use it as a stock dump on the Blu-ray part of the 4K, making you have to turn around and do this, buy this. But, I'm sure Scream Factory doesn't mind it. They're like, haha, Paramount gave you all the 2008 Blu-ray, so if you want it, you're going to have to come to me. So I'm telling you, before you make that mistake, don't give Paramount the money. Don't support that kind of crap. There are a lot of 4K sets that I have passed up because of that. But then again, even Paramount and Lionsgate release sets that are remastered. The Blu-ray is remastered as well. From the same thing, because I just don't understand why anybody would do it. I mean, you got to be like really corporately greedy and pathetically cheap to take the time to do a 4K remaster and then not even bother to just press some Blu-rays to go with it. It makes me think there's no way in hell you spend a lot of money on that 4K thing. That's the reason why if you go look at reviews on 4K releases, there's a lot of them that are really shitty. I mean, really bad. I know Scream Factory made that mistake once with Dog Soldiers. I mean, the whole collecting community was just disgusted with the 2015 release of Dog Soldiers by Scream Factory because it was horrible. I mean, everybody looked like Play-Doh. They all looked like plastic. The DNR was so horribly bad that every collector told other collectors, look, dude, if you want Dog Soldiers, you go get the 2009 release because it still looks good, And, but even someone like Scream Factory can make that kind of mistake. But at least theirs was just a technical mistake. That right there was not a mistake. They intentionally stuffed in 2008 Blu-rays into a brand new 4K box set release. It's very cheap. And Lionsgate is also bad about that. But they do just as many, good ones as well. So, yeah. But, like I said, Scream Factory made up for that mistake, though, because they turned around and released the new one. They released a 4K remaster of Dog Soldiers, and they completely redid it, and they completely redid the Blu-ray from that new master to say, I'm sorry for the 2015 disaster. And from all reviews and reports, it's absolutely phenomenally beautiful. They did not DNR it to death. It still has the film grain it's supposed to. And, so, well, now we're getting into technical stuff, aren't we? So, if you want the beautiful 4K transfer on Blu-ray, you need to go to get the Scream Factory version, which is this one. I guess if you just want the 4K, then you get this, because the Blu-ray is the 2008 Blu-ray. It's just a stock dump. This is the one you want. It is absolutely fantastic. Definitely 9.5 out of 10. Or did I give it a 10? Yeah. So, yes. That was Event Horizon. This is the 2021 4K remastered Blu-ray for Event Horizon, and I can assure you it is absolutely beautiful. And yes, that does it for our that's what I was in the mood for. So had me a little space horror festival. I don't know what'll be next. Well, I do know what'll be next. It'll be my October update, and then I'll have to decide what do I want to do next. Maybe just some randoms. I'm going to do a Dawn of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Land of the Dead, all of that. I'm going to do that, but I don't know when. Anyway, love you, miss you, bye. Always remember, never forget. You're a very, very special person, no matter what anybody says to you. If they tell you any different, they are lying. And that was Event Horizon from 1997, a masterpiece of space horror, and I will see you in the next thing I do. Bye-bye.